All right, Ravens flock, what's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying your day. So, we are here to do a week 2 recap. AFC North matchup, Browns, Ravens. It ended up being a wipeout. The Ravens got the dominant 41-17 victory. Ravens moved to 1-1 on the season. The Cleveland Browns fall to 0-2 in the season, as well as 0-2 in the division because they lost week 1 to the Bengals, and now they've lost a second divisional matchup to the Ravens. So Cleveland's trying to reevaluate their season. Baltimore goes to 1-1. So it ended up actually being a dominant win for the Ravens, but when you actually take a look at the game, you'll understand that Cleveland really played a tough game, and it wasn't until the second half and really towards the end of the game that Baltimore was able to take over. This felt like an AFC North divisional matchup where you're not really seeing a lot of offense and both defenses are showing up and playing well and doing what they need to do at the high level. The Ravens offense in the first half was not great, and they were getting beat and stuffed by the Browns defense. By the way, the Browns defense deserves a lot of credit for how they've played so far. They have been great. Things didn't turn out the way they wanted to because Baltimore got on fire in the second half, but the way the Browns defense played in this game, as well as the way they played last week against the Bengals, should show you that the Browns have a really good defense. Their issue is with their offense, and that situation has always been a problem for them. So yeah, this game started out like a divisional AFC North typical game where you're just not seeing a lot of offense. And then in the second half, it just flipped on a dime. So when you take a look at the first half, it was a lot of punting. So Cleveland got the ball first. They punted the ball. It went like 5 or 6 plays. They punt the ball. Baltimore gets on their opening drive. They pick up a first down, but ultimately they're not able to continue to move the ball. They got a punt. Cleveland gets the ball back. They go 3 and out. Baltimore gets the ball back, and they actually get the ball back in favorable territory because early on in this game, Baltimore was not able to move the ball against the Cleveland Browns. We'll talk about that a little bit later when we actually look at the stats, but Baltimore could not move the ball on Cleveland. The front seven of Cleveland was doing a lot of damage to the Ravens early on. They were putting up a lot of pressure at the line of scrimmage. They were stuffing Derrick Henry. They were pressuring Lamar a lot. There was not much time to really get anything going because our offensive line was getting manhandled by the front seven of the Browns, specifically Myles Garrett. We could not stop him to save our lives. So yeah, we get in favorable territory, and this is where we get our first points of the game because we're able to pick up a first down, and we're actually able to move into field goal range, and Tyler Loop hits the field goal to make it a 3-0 game here. That's pretty much all the action we got in the first quarter. Second quarter, it's just another situation where Baltimore and Cleveland, they're not able to do much there. Cleveland gets the ball, they punt. Baltimore gets the ball, they punt. Cleveland gets the ball again, and they punt. But for the first time in nearly a decade, I believe the last time this happened was 2016. Maybe it happened in 2017 as well. So 2016, 2017, I have to go back and check that. But for the first time in nearly a decade, the Ravens got a blocked punt. This is the first time special teams has shown up in the big way in a long time for the Ravens. So a blocked punt here leads to a short field situation here for the Ravens. Ravens get the ball, first down, they hand it to Henry, and Henry fumbles the ball. I don't know what's going on with Derrick Henry, but it seems like he's truly become a Raven because once you integrate into the Ravens culture, you start fumbling the ball. You develop fumbleitis because none of our guys can seem to hold on to the ball. So Derrick Henry fumbles the ball, but it is recovered by Tylan Wallace. It's funny how Tylan Wallace recovered it because on the very next play, on a play action situation, Lamar Jackson, he rolls to his right. He fires it to Tylan Wallace. Touchdown Ravens. They take a 10-0 lead here. So good on Wallace for getting that fumble because he ends up getting rewarded with a touchdown. Ravens have a 10-point lead at this point in the first half, and it pretty much becomes an endless cycle of punts and punts and punts and punts and punts in the second quarter, and Baltimore again is just not able to move the ball. They keep going 3 and out, 3 and out. Cleveland's moving the ball a little, but they're ultimately getting stuffed, and they end up having to, just settle for another punt. Finally, they're able to break through just before halftime. Cleveland gets the ball back in favorable territory. they actually get into field goal range before halftime. And because they were able to get into field goal range before halftime, they kick it up. It's good. And Cleveland puts some points on the board just before halftime. It's a 10-3 game heading into halftime. Baltimore tried to do something just before halftime, but they could not move the ball. So ultimately, nothing happened to that. Baltimore goes into the locker room up 10-3. Baltimore had the ball coming out of the locker room, and things got really interesting in the third quarter. So you have a situation in which the offense starts to heat up a little bit. Lamar Jackson throws a bomb down the field to a contested DeAndre Hopkins that makes an amazing catch for what initially looked like a touchdown. It looked like it was going to be, I think, a 49 or a 50-yard touchdown. It was beautiful. But after replay, his knee was down at the half-yard line, so it's first and goal there. Now, you would assume Baltimore at first and goal should be able to get this done. You got Derrick Henry. Just run the ball. First down, roll, play action fake here with Lamar. He throws it to the tight end. Cannot remember his name right now. He just came off of the practice squad, number 84. It's in his hands. He doesn't make the catch. Second down, they're under center. It looks like they're going to actually run the ball this time, but we get called for false start. So we move back 5 yards. So now you got to pass the ball here instead of handing it to Derrick Henry. Second down and goal here. Lamar looking, searches, fires. Mark Andrews makes the catch. Cannot hold on to the ball. He makes the catch. He's like backpedaling, and the defender just knocks it out of his hands while he's in the end zone. I do not believe he took 3 steps, but had he had taken 3 steps, that's a touchdown. I don't know if he completed the full football play, but the officials ruled it incomplete. John Harbaugh actually looked like he was going to challenge it, but he would later on tell us in the press conference that upstairs was telling him a hard no. That's incomplete. Do not challenge that. So it goes down as incomplete. Third down and goal. Myles Garrett gets to Lamar Jackson, sacks him right there, and we got to settle for 3 again. And that's essentially how the third quarter goes. So again, Baltimore's offense comes out the locker room. They're showing some life. They're actually able to move the ball against the Cleveland Browns defense for the first time just to get stuffed at the goal line. That was poor execution by the Ravens there. The Browns get the ball back, and 3 plays later, Flacco on 3rd and 4 is running to his right, trying to extend the play, and he throws the ball right to Nate Wiggins, who picks him off. Interception, Nate Wiggins, and he's going down the sideline. He looks like he's going to get a pick 6, but unfortunately, he just does not get there. He gets stopped at the 5. It's first and goal for the Ravens. And it took him 4 plays. They tried running, didn't really get anything there. They tried throwing, nobody was really open. The pressure was there. Third down, you had Lamar Jackson try to get it to Mark Andrews, and it nearly got picked off. So now you're looking at this situation. It's now a 4th and goal situation. I think around the 2 or 3 yard line, because they initially ran with Derrick Henry. He got a couple yards, but not enough. So yeah, 4th down and goal. Lamar's under center, and he rolls to his right. He's buying time. He has some space, but I don't think he would have been able to take off and get it. Maybe he does, but it doesn't matter. Lamar looks towards the back of the end zone, and he finds Tez Walker for the touchdown. So first touchdown reception of the season for Tez Walker. It's his 2nd ever catch in the NFL, and it's for a touchdown. So touchdown Ravens on 4th and goal. They extend the lead to 20-10. I'm sorry, 20-3, excuse me. They extend the lead to 20-3. And Baltimore at this point looks like they're about to take over. That's when Cleveland goes on the most important drive of the game, because at this point, they need points. It's the third quarter. They gotta go make a play. And they end up moving the ball. It's a 5-minute drive. They go 71 yards. They move the ball down the field against the Ravens, but the Ravens had them in field goal range on the 3rd down situation, and I cannot believe what I saw. This right here was just ridiculous. On 3rd down, Flacco drops back. He fires it towards the end zone. You got 2 guys there. I believe you had Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey. Kyle Hamilton's in position to get the pick. Marlon Humphrey gets in front of him, and the ball is in his hands. It looks like Marlon Humphrey's going to pick off Joe Flacco. It's in his hands, but somehow the football goes through his hands and is just like hanging in the air. And Tillman like makes a one-handed catch because he's already in the end zone. So the ball pops out through Marlon Humphrey's arms, and into the hands of the receiver for a touchdown. Touchdown Browns, and just like that, a miraculous, crazy touchdown happens, and it's a 20-10 game. And everybody's just sitting back and saying, uh-oh, it's a 10-point game heading into the fourth. What is Baltimore going to do? This is a situation where you need the Ravens to do something important. This drive in the fourth quarter is going to be huge for them. And boy, was it a huge one. By the fourth quarter, the Browns defense was starting to slow down. They were starting to get tired, and Baltimore's offense was starting to heat up. This ends up being the most important drive for the Ravens in the game. They go 66 yards on the Browns defense, and they top it off with the touchdown. Lamar Jackson airs it out to Tez Walker for his second catch of the game and his second touchdown in the game. So Tez Walker in his career, 3 catches, 3 touchdowns. He does what one other Ravens receiver has done. His first 3 catches are 3 touchdowns. That is Torrey Smith. So Tez Walker joins Torrey Smith as the only other Ravens receiver to have his first 3 receptions in the league be for touchdown passes. So that's a crazy stat for Tez Walker to have. All he does is catch touchdowns, right? So Ravens score here. They go up 27-10. And it looks like Baltimore is in the situation where they're really taking over. But we just saw the Ravens blow a 15-point lead to the Buffalo Bills with 4 minutes left. There's plenty of time in the fourth quarter, and it's a 17-point game. Anything can happen. Baltimore has to go finish this. So Cleveland goes on the field with Flacco. They try to get things going. They're slowly moving the ball, but they end up getting stumped. It's a 4th down situation where they gotta go for it, and they do. Flacco takes the snap. He's getting pressured. He gets sacked. He fumbles the ball. Roquan Smith is there. Roquan Smith scoops it up and takes it to the house for a a fumble return touchdown. So touchdown Ravens on a scoop and score by Roquan Smith. 41-10 Ravens, and at that point, that is all she wrote. Not much to say after that. Excuse me, not 41-10, 34-10. I'm making a lot of mistakes right now. 34-10, because it was 27-10. That scoop and score made it 34-10. So now you're up 24 points. And Cleveland at this point, they can't really do much anything. They get the ball, they can't move it. They end up turning it over on downs. Baltimore gets the ball, and they get in the end zone. Lamar Jackson throws it deep to DeAndre Hopkins. This time Hopkins is in the end zone when he makes the catch. Touchdown Ravens, 41-10, and it's just a blowout. And then after that, it's just all over. The Browns bench Joe Flacco and bring in rookie quarterback Dillon Gabriel, and Dillon Gabriel will end up scoring a touchdown to make it 41-17, and that's essentially the game. So that's pretty much your recap there about what happened in the game. Now, to speak more on this aspect here, offensively for the Ravens, there were some struggles early on, as you can tell, but ultimately Baltimore was able to find their footing in the second half. However, you got to give a lot of credit to the special teams and the defense for how they played in the first half to keep things alive. Because if the defense doesn't play the way they play and the special teams doesn't make the plays they did, Baltimore probably could have gone into halftime being down 3-0, or maybe it's a 3-3 game. Either way, special teams and defense gave opportunities for the offense, which is something we love to see. Lamar Jackson in this game, 19 of 29, 4 touchdowns, 0 interception, 225 passing yards, and a passer rating of 128.6, as well as a QBR of 70.5. So Lamar Jackson had a Lamar Jackson type of day. And the funny thing is, it really felt like it was one of those nonchalant performances where you're not sitting back and saying, Lamar Jackson is spectacular for 4 quarters. It's just Lamar Jackson's doing his thing, and he finishes with 4 touchdown passes. It was that type of day. And Lamar needed to perform like that because when it comes to the run game, nothing. Baltimore rushed for 45 yards in this game. 45 rushing yards. Derrick Henry had 11 carries for 23 yards. Lamar only took off twice for 13, but that is a huge, huge defensive performance. 45 rushing yards by the Ravens run game. The best run game in football only produced 45 yards. That tells you how great Cleveland's defense played in this game. They locked in to stop the run and said, we're not letting Derrick Henry beat us. We're not letting Derrick Henry go off. We're going to trust our corners to be able to win their one-on-one matchups, and we will contain Derrick Henry and make sure Lamar does not get out of the pocket and gash us with his legs. And they did exactly that, and Baltimore had to make the adjustments, and they still found a way to win. Zay Flowers in this game, 7 catches, 75 yards. DeAndre Hopkins, 2 receptions, 64 yards, and a touchdown. Tez Walker, 2 catches, 26 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tylan Wallace, 2 catches, 25 yards, and a touchdown. Justice Hill had 3 receptions for 18 yards. Rashad Bateman had 2 receptions for 15. And Mark Andrews had 1 reception for 2 yards. Could have had a touchdown, but he unfortunately dropped it. And that's basically the overall aspects for the offense. As for the defense, Roquan Smith played his best game. Arguably as a Raven. We haven't seen this Roquan Smith since his time with Chicago. This dude had 15 tackles in this game. 3 of those tackles were for loss. He had 2 quarterbacks hits on Flacco. He had a return for a touchdown, a fumble return for a touchdown. Roquan Smith was enforcing himself. He was enforcing himself as a real dominating presence. This is the Roquan Smith we want to see every week. This right here is the Roquan Smith we've been dying to see. That is the type of Roquan Smith we need to see on a week-to-week basis. So Roquan Smith was spectacular. Teddy Buchanan stepped up big, and he played a majority of the snaps, and he looked good out there. So I'm very interested in seeing how this is going to go, because, it seems like it's going to be a situation where they're going to have weeks where Teddy Buchanan has more snaps than a Trenton Simpson, and there's going to be times where Trenton Simpson has more snaps than Teddy Buchanan. So I don't know if they're going to be alternating between these two, or if they're going to look at Teddy Buchanan's performance and say, we'll stick with him. But he did play well. A lot of guys defensively played well. Chidobe Awuzie made plays. Kyle Hamilton, of course. Marlon Humphrey, other than the drop pick, he was solid. Nate Wiggins really balled out in this game and had that interception. Our defense was doing a good job. Mike Green had some flashes here and there because Kyle Van Noy got hurt. And speaking of Kyle Van Noy, he could be out for some time. We'll just have to wait and see how that is going to be ruled. And I'll be here to report that when we get any updates about that. But it looks like Kyle Van Noy could be out for some time, so some of these guys got to step up. That means more opportunities for Mike Green to go showcase what he can do. But yeah, defensively, they did a great job today. They did a great job defensively. They created 2 turnovers. Special teams actually did their job and actually blocked the punt. It was great to see the defense all around for Baltimore do what they needed to do. It was great, man. They really just shut down the Browns offense. Not much to really say here. Joe Flacco, 25 of 45, 199 pass yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, passer rating of 65, QBR of 30. It was not a great game for Flacco. They were able to get something going in the run game because the Browns actually rushed for 115 yards, but it just wasn't enough. They had some bright spots. They had some real bright spots. Jerry Jeudy actually had 4 catches for 51 yards. He led all receivers for the Browns with 51 reception yards, but it didn't really do too much. Tillman had a touchdown. Sampson had a touchdown, which was a garbage time touchdown, which he ended up getting with Dylan Gabriel. But I believe that is Sampson's first touchdown here with the Cleveland Browns. So that's a cool thing, at the end of the day, it is what it is. But ultimately, it didn't mean much for the Browns as they did lose 41-17. Defensively, they were great. Special teams made the plays, and offensively, they got themselves together. But one aspect that will continue to be discussed will obviously be the offensive line. And this game wasn't a game where the offensive line did a good job. They got manhandled. Like I said, nobody could stop Myles Garrett. And I know people are going to get on Faalele's case, but if you go back and look at the film, nobody on the offensive line was playing well. Linderbaum was struggling. Roger Rosengarten was struggling off the edge. Literally, on 2 occasions, we literally saw Ronnie Stanley get flat out beaten, smoked by Myles Garrett. So nobody could really do anything to stop the front 7 of Cleveland. That offensive line as a collective was poor. And I know people are going to single out Faalele, but the entire O-line did not play well in this game. They were terrible in the first half. They were a lot better in the second half. But overall, they got manhandled by Cleveland, so let's keep that in mind. That is all I have to say about this Week 2 matchup. Ravens got the 41-17 victory. They moved to 1-1, like I said. Not much else to really talk about here. This is a game they were expected to win. They were favored by, 10.5, and they end up blowing these guys out, as everybody expects them to. We expect the Ravens to win games that they're obviously heavily favorites, and we expect them to win these games that they're clearly the superior team. They got to win games where they're the clearly superior team. There's no reason to be in these type of matchups with inferior competition. We expect them to win this. So none of these wins will be impressive. If you're going up against an inferior team and you win, we expect you to win. It's not impressive. Now, next week, they get to take on the Detroit Lions on Monday Night Football. So that should be a hell of a matchup. But in terms of this game, they handled business. We expected that to be the case. Defense bounced back after choking a 15-point lead in 4 minutes against Buffalo on Sunday Night Football last week. So it is what it is. You know, they played better this week, but you went up against worse competition. So let's see how they handle the Detroit Lions and that high-octane offense. That would be a better test for this Ravens defense. So we'll just have to wait and see till Monday night. But guys, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in. And that's all I've got for this Week 2 recap. With that being said, that's all I got for you, and I'm out of here. Be sure to stay safe, and peace out.